just press subscribe. It's free, and then you'll get notifications. Let's go to the chat. Let's go to the space while Sulaiman sets this up. Doc, you got your hand up. What are your thoughts? And then I'll come to you, Andy. Subscribe. It's free, and then you'll get notifications. Let's go to the chat. Let's go to the space while Sulaiman sets this up. Doc, you got your hand up. What are your thoughts? And then I'll come to you, Andy.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Aguilar, but I mean the title of the post above and his assertions that Tulsi Gabbard must resign, I think are mistaken and misunderstood. Tulsi is the one member of the administration who has some significant power, who's a moderating voice and has been a moderating voice when it comes to war in the Middle East. That's her history. I don't think it's changed because of one statement that she made in contravention of her previous positions in support of the war. I think that was forced upon her by circumstances so that she could maintain her position. She's done a lot of good. She's released a lot of documents that previously had not been released that gave support and courage, frankly, to myself and a number of other conservatives who have turned on Trump and the quote unquote no new wars president. So I don't think that she's maintaining her position for political advantage, whether or not she decides to run in 2028 as a vice president. I don't see either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, who are the clear favorites at this point to succeed Trump, that either one of them would choose Tulsi Gabbard as a vice presidential candidate. Um, and maybe she'd be effective in having resigned to come out against what she's seen in the administration under Trump's leadership. She would be hamstrung both by law and circumstance from speaking truth to power at that point as well. We've seen what Trump has done to Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene and other America First patriots. I'll label them because the label I still ascribe to myself. I don't see that being effective in the deep swamp that still exists with our mainstream media. I see it every day, every hour, with my posts condemning Trump and asserting that Iran has won this war. Well, so many Americans and followers of mine who are buying the hokum from Fox News and the mainstream media that we've won the war. And so I expect that's what Trump's going to do is come out and say that we've won this, we've achieved our objectives. Of course, if you give that statement any scrutiny, particularly having had the benefit of being in the space for the last month and being associated with you and Sully for the last few years, I know that to be propaganda. But a still significant majority of Americans will buy it. And I think this is why Trump is withdrawing, if in fact that's what he's doing, from assisting Israel in their Greater Israel Project plans, is because he knows that politically he's being devastated. I don't think he really cares much about the economic devastation that could and is likely to come from this. The suppression of the petrodollar as the reserve currency for the world. I don't think he cares about that. I don't think he cares about money nearly as much as he cares about his legacy and power. And I think his withdrawal from active combat, if that's in fact what happens, is entirely because of his political situation here in America and nothing else. For him to have any legacy, and for administration to have any legacy, he has to be able to put in power the next president and have that president and that Congress continue with some of the more fundamental ideas in which Americans got behind him on and elected him 3 different times. So I think that also that Anthony is not going to be successful in his campaign as a Green Party candidate. Trump was smart, in my opinion, in being a former Democrat from a blue state, New York, running as a Republican, because I don't think there's a power base out there for any third party. And that's been demonstrated over and over again by history. And I just don't think that there's enough support for independent candidate unfunded by by corrupt sources to pierce through the messaging that the mainstream media and both parties will use to attack him. But that being said, I respect him greatly, and if my vote could be the deciding vote on whether or not he became a congressman or not, I would give him that vote. I also think it's sort of naive to think that one congressman could come to Congress and change the status quo as it relates to um, the corruption of the military industrial complex and our media industrial complex. Too many politicians. Matthew Cawthorn is one who went to Washington with the best intentions, and they get walked into a room and they're told there's only so much that you're going to be able to do as an independent voice. You're going to have to work with the party and the party leadership, and you're going to have to take money from those that we take money from, or we're going to just point a finger at you and sideline you. And I think that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to resign, is because she just knew she wasn't going to be effective and wasn't effective. She could not represent the people in her district in a way that served their best interests. So while I think Marjorie Taylor Greene did the right thing personally and professionally to resign, I don't think Tulsi Gabbard should, because her position is such a significant one as the director of national intelligence. I also don't think that the director of national intelligence could be expected to know that the two Navy commanders who ordered the double strike on the girls' school, I don't expect that sort of information would drive up to the DNI. I think that's made at more of a local level. I think that's made, by Hexeth and others below him. And there'd be no reason, in my opinion, for Hexeth to run it by Tulsi Gabbard. The information that she has control of, having all 17 intelligence agencies report to her, has to be voluminous. And so, no, I don't hold her accountable for that attack. I think it's more likely the commanders in place, the use of AI or Israeli intelligence to set targets for American missile attacks. And I absolve Tulsi Gabbard in the sense that her position doesn't reasonably lead to her foreknowledge about military plans. Thanks.
Wow, thanks, Doc. Very interesting and unique take, but then you always do have, it's your own critical thinking, which we appreciate, even if sometimes I don't agree with aspects of it, but always welcome it. So thank you very much, Doc. Appreciate you. Let's go to Andy. Andy, go jump in.
Yeah, it's very great that we can have Aguilar in these spaces, and I do agree. Unfortunately, as sad as the reality is, we're not going to be able to see these third party guys win. I think it would be it would be better if someone like him did run on the Democrat side and try to run on the anti-war leftist flank, because I think there is now enough of this anti-war sentiment on the left where if he ran in a Democrat primary, someone like him would have the chance. I mean, we have with all of these anti-war protests we saw during the genocide, I think especially now, it would be possible for these anti-war Democrats to win primaries. Just look at you have someone like Thomas Massie, who has someone on the right who Trump is going against, and they're not even able to really make a dent. It looks like Thomas Massie's probably going to win his race easily. So I don't see why an anti-war candidate on the left would not be able to oust an incumbent if they tried, and there was really a grassroots nationwide effort to really get behind that candidate from the grassroots progressive base on the left. I think it's entirely possible, especially because the left is more anti-Israel than the right is. You might have the biggest anti-Israel voices like a Tucker Carlson, like a Candace Owens, like a Nick Fuentes. They might be on the right, but the overall Democrat Party, the rank and file, if you look at polling, is more sympathetic to Palestine, is more anti-Israel overall than the Republican Party. So it is possible so that's something the Democrats we need to look at for 2028. And that's exactly what Dr. Michael Rechtenwald was talking about. It's about it's about both sides working together. We can't have these purity tests. Like Aguilar, like, he doesn't come off as some crazy radical leftist. Like, he is someone I would happily vote for if he was running in my district. He comes off as a very reasonable, like, true American patriot that I would be happy to vote for. He seems to just share pure American values, and someone like him absolutely should take a chance at running in a Democratic primary for a House seat. And going back to what he was saying about the war, yes, Trump is definitely going to lie and say, mission accomplished. We did this, this, this. We changed the regime, not once, but twice. You didn't change the regime. You literally took out the old guy that was the moderate, and now you have someone else in charge that's radicalized because you killed their families. So you technically you did do a regime change to a regime that is a lot less likely to want to negotiate. Does
Yeah, the Democrat Party is completely controlled by Zionists. Like the fact that some young activists and stuff hate Israel means nothing if they don't have any power within the party.
I'm just gonna finish up what I was saying. So Trump's gonna come out tonight, say, we won, we won. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, we do need the Strait of Hormuz, just because it affects Europe, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand more than us, and the global recession will be worse for them. Our gas has already gone up over $1 a gallon, so the global recession is still gonna hit us. It will just be worse for Europe. So Trump can say what he wants, but the fact that our gas has already gone up $1 in a month shows that, yes, we absolutely do need the Strait of Hormuz. And every economic analyst has said if it stays closed another month or two, it's going to be a global recession. So we absolutely do need the Strait of Hormuz. We can't magically replace the oil because oil's traded on a global market. It's not, well, we have all of our oil and they don't, so we're fine. The entire global economy collapses without it. So I do still think there probably will be a ground invasion unless Trump just agrees to all of Iran's terms, which he can't, despite the fact that, yes, as Aguilar said, he clearly is bored of this war. He's back to talking about his ballroom. But again, there's the Israel factor. Trump has to make Israel happy. And again, they are not rational actors. They view this as their last chance at regime change. And I don't necessarily see them going back to war in a year or two after this because they don't have the interceptors. Iran can rebuild their missile stocks a lot quicker than missile interceptors can get rebuilt. So it's gonna be like, if this war drags on, Israel's going to keep getting pummeled. I mean, they were talking about 60 THAAD interceptors being built a year. This is advanced machinery, and as we've talked about, it relies on these rare earths from China. China's not going to be like, yeah, here, we're just going to give you these rare earths so you can rearm yourself to attack our ally Iran again. They're going to be like, yeah, no, we're not going to let you do that. So this is really.
Wait, are the missiles that are being fired also not sophisticated and require sophisticated machinery to build?
Are you talking about Iran's?
Yeah, you're saying for the interceptors, and the missiles that Iran is firing are also very sophisticated and require all that machinery too, right?
Yes, but Iran hasn't gutted their. Yes, but Iran has proven that they can rebuild, just like we said, oh, they were decimated after the 12-day war, and clearly they weren't.
Well, I mean, the 12-day war was nothing in terms of the amount of targets that were attacked compared to this one. I mean, this time, the whole reason Trump is talking about winding things down is because he's run out of targets to bomb. Everything they set out to bomb in Iran is going to be bombed.
Then
So
how
how they're
come
going to rebuild missiles with no missile factories?
you understand most of it's underground in mountains? So unless they're planning on dropping into.
No, building them, no, it's like storage of them. They've stored many of them underground, but the entire factories and all that, that's completely impractical to even try to put that underground.
You really think Iran didn't put some of those factories in the mountains?
The way factories work, it's not practical to try to put a factory inside of a mountain, no.
I'm pretty sure Iran has some factories in mountains.
You're pretty sure what?
Iran has some of their factories in mountains. They might have taken out a few of their factories, but they've been preparing for this war for decades. They've learned a
Yeah, I
lot.
mean, I have not heard any information, and I've read a lot of sources talking about this subject. I've not heard anyone even claiming that the factories are in the mountains. It's very
You've not-
expensive
Those
to
same
build
sources
space
said
in
Iran only
mountains.
had 3,000 missiles. So by that math, they
No,
would have.
no, that's missiles to hit Israel with, not overall missiles. They had a lot of smaller missiles that can hit the GCC countries and so on.
You understand? They also build like.
Mango, I remember you saying it. I remember it was before the war. Your claim was that Iran's total number of missiles were only in the few thousands, and I remember at that time I said 20,000 at a minimum, and they fired many, many more than those missiles that you said. In addition to that, Iran does produce weapons underground, deep underground. This idea that Trump hasn't got anywhere else to bomb is just complete cope. What's actually happened is Trump has realized he's lost the war. He had 4 clear objectives. He said that he didn't want them to have nuclear enrichment anymore. They're gonna have nuclear enrichment. He said he's gonna not make sure they don't have ballistic missiles anymore. He tore up the GCPOA
He
for that
said no
specific reason.
proxies. He said no proxies. Hezbollah, as
I'm
Ryan
talking.
Dawson
I'm talking,
said, is
Andy.
whooping that ass.
Andy, I'm talking. I don't get why people think they can interrupt. So what I was saying was the GCPO he tore up, and that was based on this notion that 5% enrichment he didn't want, and he didn't want Iran to have ballistic missiles. He's reneged on that. They said they didn't want Iran to fund Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, and now he's reneged on that. None of those goals have been accomplished. He's bombed some infrastructure, he's bombed some things in the air, but it is well known, according to military analysts well before the war, that not just the holding of the missiles, not just the launch of the missiles, but the production of the missiles, largely speaking, were done in these underground facilities, in these underground areas. This is why Iran's been able to continue firing at Israel, continue firing at the Gulf states. And yeah, MAGA's going to have to cope now because they realize that they failed in every single parameter. Every single parameter. There's not even one parameter they succeeded in, because they even failed in regime change. They failed in bombing important missile depot locations. I believe I saw at least 2, maybe 3 that they did succeed in. I think the Iranians are claiming not, but 3 out of 200 is what, 1.5% of the entire storage of the missiles. They managed to produce, I said 20,000. I believe resistance argument was, I think it was 100,000.
Yeah.
Whatever the number is, they've got so many more left. They could be bombing Israel for a very long time and the GCC. Trump failed in every single parameter. What you saw was a major loss. Many people said, the US lost in Afghanistan. I kind of never really had that position. I felt like they'd had control of the area for 2 decades, and they left and kind of left all the weapons to their proxies, the new Taliban proxies. I wasn't a big believer that they lost. And I wasn't a big believer they lost in Iraq. I felt like they'd taken control of the area for a very long time, even though they hadn't fully taken control over it, but they'd been dominating the people in that area, unfortunately. This is the most complete loss of the American empire that we've ever seen. To put down objectives on the first day and fail on every single objective is shockingly bad. It is shockingly bad. The only reason we are shocked that there's even going to be an agreement is because we thought America wouldn't have, like, Trump would have some form of self-respect that he wouldn't want to admit defeat. But then I think it seems like his audience can quite easily just be like, yeah, we won. We give Iran the Strait of Hormuz. We've made them stronger geopolitically. They can now make more money. They're financially more stronger. We've allowed them to continue with their nuclear program. We've allowed them to continue with their ballistic missile program. We've allowed them to continue with everything. It is the most biggest and utter loss that I've ever seen. And it literally is the end of America, because now everyone knows all you got to do is arm up and America can't do nothing to you. This was just the biggest loss of America ever. Resistance? Was there anything you wanted to add in terms of the missile program?
Yeah. How many missile cities do you know that are in Iran, Sully?
I'm aware of, according to my sources. You're talking about specific locations?
No, just in Iran.
Yeah. Are you talking about specific locations? I'm aware of over 200.
Yeah. So if you think that is 200, how many missiles do you think each one has? If it's 100 each, that's 20,000 missiles. If it's 500, then it would be 100,000 missiles. Do you see? A missile city won't just have only 100 missiles if there's 200 of them.
Yeah. I mean, it could be because they could be dispersing them in different areas, and this is why when America's managed to bomb one of them, like let's say you had 1,000 missiles, would you put 1,000 in 2 locations or would you put them in 10? Well, Iran has been very smart that they put it in 10. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm 100%.
Yeah.
When I did the 20,000 figure, I was trying to be like, listen, you guys are saying 2,000, there's actually 20,000. But yeah, I'm open to the possibility that there's a lot more because these are being produced over decades.
Yeah, and that's only 100 missiles per missile city. If that's 20,000, so
Exactly.
I'd say it's probably at least 300 missiles per city in that case. So
Well,
at least 60,000, 60 to 100,000 at least. Yeah.
yeah, so Suleiman, would you agree this is just based on all the reporting I've seen, the total number of missiles that Iran has fired at Israel so far has been about 500. Does that sound accurate to you?
Let me think. Just so that I've not actually totaled this up, so I'd say it's 33 days, 32. I'd say probably about 900.
Well, this is going based off of all of those different accounts that do the tallies and like public reporting. And I also just asked Grok just to verify it and check against all the other
So I
sources.
think on the first day they did about 95, if I'm right. And then since then, I'd say they've been averaging about maybe 20 to 30 a day. Averaging, because some days it was a lot less and some days it was less and some
No,
days
it's been 20 to 30. It's been 20 to 30 total missiles fired at everyone. With Israel, it's only been about 10.
Okay. That's possible because they were using drones as well. Let me think. Yeah, but then, for example, in the last 24 hours, there's been a lot more, as an example.
Yeah, so the going based off what the U.S., I think it was CENTCOM or one of them, basically said this is what they've said about the missiles. So prior to the war, the U.S. estimate of the amount of missiles, because these are only the big missiles, the amount of missiles that Iran had to shoot at Israel was about 1,500. Israel's claim was that it was about 2,000. Now, the U.S. has now claimed that 1/3 of Iran's missiles are definitely destroyed with high confidence, and 1/3 are not destroyed, and then another 1/3 they're not sure about. They believe that they've damaged some, or that some have been they're still there, but they're like trapped underground and they're not able to get out to fire, et cetera, et cetera. So there's 1/3 that has a question mark, 1/3 they claim
2,000,
destroyed.
you say?
Yeah, out of
Okay.
either 1,500 or 2,000, basically what it would mean,
Which figure
just
do you
for
want
the
to go
missiles
with?
going to Israel, because there's lots of smaller
Yeah.
missiles.
Okay, so
But
according to
basically
your
what they would
own...
be saying is you've got about 1/3 that have been fired, 1/3 that have been destroyed, and then there's a question mark over about another third of them.
Cool, no worries. So according to your own assessment, how many missiles have been destroyed?
Yeah, so according to their assessment, it would be somewhere between like 500 to 600 missiles or so.
Okay, cool. It's brilliant. So according to your own assessment, only 500 missiles have been destroyed. So if you're right and there's only
But that's not,
1,000...
they said 1/3, so they didn't give like a number.
Yeah. Well, just basic math, isn't it? A third of 1,500 is 500. So based on your own assessment, only 500 missiles have been destroyed. Let's say hypothetically there's only 1,000. That over 20, 30 years, they've only managed to accumulate 1,000 missiles, which is just illogical and ridiculous. But according to your own assessment, if there's 1,500, they've got at least 1,000 left. If they've used only, what was it you said, 500? Means in 33 days, they could, even according to your assessment, go for another 2 months. just according to your assessment. According to my assessment, they could go for years. According to Resistance's assessment, they could go for decades. So according to all our assessment, they're not in a situation where you should end the war right now anyway, because you've still got 2 months. You've got the majority of the supply still left. You've still got 2 months of supply left. You've only managed to stop 1 month of supply. So even according to that, this is hugely problematic in terms of what's going on. In reality, according to anyone who is and studied the region for a very long time, no one's ever said, and no one believes that Iran only has that small number of missiles. They have a large number of missiles, and actually, Trump's retreat is so embarrassing. Like, it just shows that this guy is weak. He's made America look weak. He's helped destroy the American empire because of his weakness. And it's just embarrassing that he's not achieved any of his objectives. He came out, I remember, I can find the video. I remember on the very first day, came out in front of the his what's it called again? The Trump aeroplane. I forgot what it's called now.
Air Force One.
But anyway,
One.
Air Force One. He came out in front of that, and he basically said he laid out the objectives, and he's failed in every single one of the objectives. Now it's going to be interesting to see if he just retreats himself without a deal. He did say, I can retreat without a deal. So he's like, Iran's not agreed to a deal, so I'm just going to run away, which I would love, because that just means open season on Iran and open season on the GCC. That will be pure gold. If he's agreed to a deal, it'll be interesting to see what Iran or what parameters they've agreed to. I'll tell you, I've been very honest which ones I think should be included in there if they have. If there's no deal, and we'll have to just wait and see if. And I still think Iran will have made a big error by agreeing to the deal, because Trump's already told you that he's going to come back. But Joe, jump in. You got your hand up.
Yeah, two questions. One, do you think if Kamala was in office that she would have attacked Iran?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think, like Manko said, that the Dems are under the boots of these Zios, or under the control of the Zios?
Yeah.
Okay. Are the Republicans?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Because Manko's made it seem like only the Dems are under the control of the Zios.
But what
He's
I would
like,
say,
they're really under the control of the Zios. Like, still playing this party line nonsense.
No, but party line is
That's
actually
ridiculous.
No, but Joe, I agree with him. I'll explain to you what sense I agree with him. So, if you look at the Democrat Party, it is where the people are against Israel, but the establishment is for them. And there isn't a strong establishment movement that is anti-Israel. If you look at all the candidates that they're kind of going to be pushing, they're all pro-Israel candidates. Whereas at least with the Republicans, there is this...
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In the Republicans, there's people who are anti-Israel.
I'm going to explain.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. So there's no candidate, or there's no movement. Like, what movement is there which is the anti-Israel movement? This is why people like Greg Stoker, who's actually far left, has to basically become an independent or a Green Party member, because there isn't this kind of establishment anti-Israel movement. Within the Republican Party, there actually is, the far right has ended up becoming a movement, which is, so you've got people like Thomas Massey, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Fuentes. All of these people have kind of created a large rift between the Republican Party, between pro-Israel and anti-Israel, or pro-Israel, America first, Israel first. Whereas you don't have that in the Republicans. You look at the 7 million man march, and people were told they can't bring Palestinian flags. You look at the people who organized the march, both of them are Jewish Zionists. If you look at, for example, the front runner, Gavin Newsom, I'm not Jewish Zionist, Christian Zionist. So, so in that aspect, yeah, I have more hope for the Republican Party than I do the Democrat, which is kind of weird because.
So let me. You're not on TikTok anymore, are you?
No, I'm on TikTok, blood. I got 17,000 followers. I just don't go live because they keep banning me.
Okay, because if you were, I think you'd have a different opinion. Don't forget that the entire...
No, I didn't say the people, though. I said the establishment, right?
Yeah, well, there's people in the establishment too. You just don't hear them on X, because the only voices on X are Republican, for the most part.
Which leading Democrat? No,
Well, you
let me
just
know.
named you named Nick Fuentes. He's not a Democrat, or he's not a government official.
No,
But
no,
there's
but
like
he
Tucker,
is
Candace,
someone.
etc.
No, but he's
Tucker
someone.
Tucker isn't either. Neither's Kansas.
No, no, but they all of them, and maybe less so Candace, are people who could be candidates for the presidency if they went for the Republican Party. So if you can give me an example on the left who could be, I'm more than happy. So, for example, Cenk tried it, but he did it as a third party kind of thing, and I think it was third party a Democrat, and he just didn't get he just got no motion at all on that. So if there is someone, let me know.
I don't know. I don't think Tucker,
No, I'm asking.
Candace,
I'm
or
not
any of
asking.
those people
No,
are
no.
even
You're
have a
you're
chance.
using the you're basically trying
Well,
to.
you just name people that don't have a chance in the world of
I
winning.
think
That's
Tucker.
so.
Actually,
I
I
mean,
think
I could
Thomas
just.
Massey. I think Thomas Massey or Tucker would actually have a very good chance of winning the Republican nominee
Uh,
if they were to stand. But I'm asking you for the Democrats. Can you name me people who could? There may be. I'm not saying I know. I'm not saying I know every single person. There may have been someone I had an oversight on. Please, can you let me know?
I think AOC has a chance. He's too young currently, but
Well,
AOC has a better chance than
AOC,
anyone.
well, AOC is someone whose entire career was built by the Zionists. She's funded, financed, and supported by the J Street, which is the Democrat version of
Mm,
AIPAC.
yeah, I understand that. And
Her entire career was astroturfed by
has
these Jewish Zionist tech billionaires.
has has also spoken out against them, right?
She's funded supported the bill to send defensive weapons to Israel. So that's not, I don't think that's a good example. There was many times
Okay,
she was approached about she was
Candace Owens,
many
who
times
worked for
she was
Ben
approached about the
Shapiro,
Gaza. There was many times she was
Candace
approached.
Owens that
Yeah.
worked for Ben Shapiro is a good example, Sulaiman. Is that what you're
No,
telling me?
Candace Owens is
Oh,
no, no. Candace Owens just woke up like a year ago, and I'm not even too sure about her
okay.
myself.
So
But what I'm
Tucker
saying is,
Carlson, for a decade, who pulled the party line,
who?
which was funded, um, Tucker Carlson, who
Yeah,
worked for the biggest organization to pull the line and got paid by the Murdochs, did all that
true,
stuff.
true.
He's a good candidate. You can't look at his background though.
No, no,
You see what I mean? Like
no,
you can
no.
look at
So
all
let's
of them. There's not a
no,
single
no.
one of them that are
So
clean.
I'll answer that one. So I agree with you. I think there's all of the people I mentioned. There are question marks about. I think all of them, to be honest. There is
Mhm.
without a doubt legitimate questions about every single one of them, but there is without a doubt when you look at the mainstream conversation, there is a split within the right wing, and this is why you've got so many people who are right wing who are pushing against it, political commentators and candidates, and this is why you have candidates now
No,
running on it. Okay,
the oh,
okay, go ahead.
sorry. The only reason
Mm,
Tucker, Candace, and these guys started speaking out about it
mm.
is because the movement that was started by the left kept growing, right? And that's why it
Nah,
worked.
I think the
It's the
opposite.
people first.
I think it's the
They didn't start it.
I think it's the opposite. I think what happened was because why this movement grew was because on the left.
TikTok, and we know it was TikTok.
No, you need to let me finish your point. So,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, the reason why this anti-Israel movement on the right moved so much was a plethora of reasons. Of course, social media had a major impact, but TikTok and these kind of things are always considered more leftist. But what actually had I think another factor, an important factor was that basically you had Biden in charge. Biden was complicit in the Gaza genocide. Harris was complicit in the Gaza genocide. All the social media influencers on the left wing, largely speaking, other than maybe Hassan Abi, were supporting of towing the Democrat Party line. For example, Mehdi Hassan was lying about what happened on October the 7th. So all of these guys were kind of towing the party line when it came to it. Adam Mockler, who's got more than 1 million subscribers, was like, we support Israel. So all Destiny, one of the other big influencers, was all supporting Israel. So other than maybe Hassan Abi, who was considered an anti-Semite, and they were basically attacking him a lot, they had that. And what that did was the right wing, in order, because what the right sometimes and the left do is because this is kind of yin yang, this gave them this kind of extra push to try and hold that position that ordinarily would have been held by the Democrats. So there was that factor in it as well. So yeah, there was that. There was social media. There was X. There was these political influences, because political influences influence the zeitgeist and the populist. So all of these things had a major factor where actually, if you look at the establishment, and Tucker Carlson would be considered an establishment guy, there is a split between them. But yeah, you're right. There is a fair enough question to Mark to ask about all of these guys' background, without a doubt. Where I would say AOC, I think for us, it's more of a problem is that during the genocide of Gaza, specifically, she voted for weapons to go to Israel, and I think that was kind of like, okay, you did it before, and maybe you've learned. That's a separate point. But you're doing it while you pretend to be anti-war, while you've got this kind of Bernie Bros position, and then you vote for weapons to go to Israel. That is sick. And that's why she was many times confronted, and she was like screaming at people when they were asking about things that ordinarily you would assume that someone like her, who kind of is this Bernie Bros chick, would have that position. And so it almost became a hypocrisy and a kind of double position, where it was like people expect you to hold that position and you end up having the opposite.
What I was saying before, I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think you were answering my question. This movement started on the left, right? It started on TikTok to the point where we heard APAC go, we have a TikTok problem, right? TikTok completely left leaning, completely. Okay. The influencers jumped in after, not before. Okay. There wasn't a big voice. Didi was one of the biggest voices on there at the time.
Which ones?
For you to give you an example on
No,
TikTok.
which influencers jumped on board afterwards?
Well, you had a lot of people that are considered liberal, like Destiny's a big guy. They were all they were pushing against it.
They were pro-Israel.
Right?
I'm talking about which ones
Right,
were
they're pro-Israel.
Yeah, I'm talking about the other side.
You don't have as many big people on the other side.
You do actually, but all of them was IO. So like the Krastensteins was IOs, Harry Sisson was his IO. They all.
But that's on here. They're not big on TikTok.
Harry Sisson's very big on TikTok.
It's not the same though. TikTok's very different. You don't have on TikTok. It's your content. It's not the how many followers you have that make you go viral. So it's very different type of algorithm that there is on X.
Separate things that you're saying. I never answered your question, but I think there isn't a question there because there's no doubt about it. I already said this right at the beginning, so I'm confused as to what you think your question was. I said right at the beginning that the Democrats as a group, the Democrats as people who follow the Democrat Party, are without a doubt, largely speaking, anti-Israel. It's overwhelming. I already said that at the beginning, but I said the establishment isn't. Whereas the Republicans, it's almost a mesh, maybe more actually towards Israel. But the establishment, there is a split between them.
So now, because it became popular, because of people like Hassan Piker, or because of people like the other guy that I forget his name, that's from Palestine, that does the Omid. Hold on, I just lost my audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on, I lost my airplane. Yeah, there was people that became famous because of this, and that's because
you're
of
a bit loud, bro.
I'm loud?
Yeah, you're a bit loud, unless it's me.
Okay. There's a few people that became famous because of this movement, like Hassan. Hassan wasn't really that popular before, right? Even what's his name? The guy with the ponytail, and now he cut it off with the mustache. That became Kansas's.
Ian Carroll, but he's allegedly right wing now. He's like far right.
Yeah, now he is, but that's not how he started, right?
That's true.
You had people that came up because of this movement on TikTok that started.
But he was
big
before. He was big before.
No, Ian Carroll was not big at all. I remember following him. First time I saw him, he had like less than 20,000 followers on TikTok, and we were already doing spaces on this.
Is it? He told me. Well, he must be lying then, because I interviewed him very early on. I think in November 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he already had 1 million, and he said all of his followers, largely speaking, were before October 7th.
No, he had followers because of RFK, and it was nowhere near that number. Like nowhere near, unless he's talking about some other platform I'm unaware of. But on TikTok,
not TikTok specifically.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
Actually, I might have his interview somewhere here, but actually, I might have deleted it.
Yeah. Anyway, there's guys that became big that aren't established names because of this cause on TikTok. It was a left-wing thing. The right people started jumping on it a bit later. But my whole point to this whole conversation was there is not a when Mankos goes, oh, forget the Dems. The Dems are controlled by the Zios. as if the Republicans aren't. Right? They're both controlled by the Zios.
No, Joe, that's a straw man. The only reason I said that
It's not
is
a straw
because
man.
Andy, hold on. The only reason I said that is because Andy was basically saying, hey, there's more Democrats than Republicans that are anti-Israel, so that's who you should vote for in 2028.
No,
And I
I
was
said there were
pointing
more
out that it
Democrat
doesn't
rank and
matter.
file that were
Hold on.
anti-Israel, but the biggest
Yeah,
anti-Israel influencers
you
are on
you
the
still
Republican
said
side.
it was a reason to vote in 2028. Don't interrupt. So the point is that I was pointing out it doesn't matter because the Democrat establishment is going to be extremely Zionist. So it doesn't matter if like the
So's the
voters
Republican.
have a different attitude. Well, here's the difference, and this is I completely agree with Suleiman. It is possible if you are a Republican, if you are a primary candidate, it is possible for you to be an insurgent, to be a populist, to have non-mainstream views and still win. The problem is with the Democrat Party, it is not possible. The
It is
establishment picks
possible.
the candidate. No, the
Look at
establishment,
Bernie.
excuse me, we know
It's not
because Bernie
possible.
Sanders got destroyed twice.
Exactly.
No, he didn't. He got destroyed because Hillary changed the laws, Manco. She pulled out a
And no, it's
rule
not
out of
because they've got
nowhere.
super delegates that guarantees that these guys stay in power.
Yeah, and
They
that
changed the
wasn't like
super
that.
delegates from only 50 from being 15% of the delegates now to only 5. Bernie was able to get that rule change. Only 5% of the delegates now vote.
Right. Because Hillary used it against him, or else he was going to win. And all polls showed
Yeah,
that he would
with
beat Trump at the
Biden,
time too.
and with Biden, they didn't even need to steal it from Bernie at the convention. They were able to do it earlier because the entire establishment, liberal media, went all in on Biden and
Yeah,
absolutely
Bernie
started
was
Yeah.
rolling
attacking
through the
Bernie.
Okay.
Bernie was
And
rolling
on the
through the
Republicans,
primaries,
where's that
and
different?
then James Clyburn endorsed Biden, that the high-ranking black official in South Carolina is like, I know Joe and Joe knows us. Then all of the black voters rallied around Biden in South Carolina. Biden blew out in South Carolina, swept all of the southern states with all of the black voters, and then rolled to the nomination when it looked like Bernie was inevitable. But
Yeah.
then they rallied all of the black voters for Biden, and then it was a wrap.
Yeah, and the DNC right now is the only ones who are saying that we might not want APAC money because it's toxic. Right? I don't hear the RNC saying that. I see the DNC saying that right now. Right? And you're like, oh no,
RNC is
Republicans.
completely controlled by Zios. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, well,
But so
let's
is the
see what they
DNC as
do,
well.
Sulaiman. Let's see what they do.
No,
Right?
no, I
Because
agree with you. One second, I think you're just meshing all the different points together. RNC, without a doubt, is completely controlled by Zios. The DNC also is.
yep.
The RNC, when it comes to possible candidates who can win, I would say there's more of a chance that a candidate who is anti-Israel has more of a chance to win the Republican ticket rather than the Democrat ticket. But obviously, we'll wait and see. If there is,
But why?
if
Can you
this,
explain
look, let
why?
me finish this. Let me finish. If in this next election, a
Mhm.
Democrat candidate who is anti-Israel doesn't win, this proves our point. Because in reality, as you said right at this beginning, you kept on saying this, and you can't switch back on it.
Mhm.
You mentioned how Democrats on TikTok are anti-Israel, how
Mhm.
they largely are anti-Israel. The
Mhm.
entire movement is anti-Israel, and they influenced, according to you, the Republicans to do so. If a non-anti-Israel candidate, basically, if an anti-Israel candidate doesn't win the Democrat position ticket, then we are right. If it does, then you're right, because there is no, in what world could you have it with the majority, not just the majority, it's almost like 70-80% of Democrats are anti-Israel, and then you have an pro-Israel candidate who wins.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
But let's see.
And
I
by the
actually
way,
Right,
don't
so
think
according to you, Gavin
I
Newsom
just
cannot win, right?
Solomon no. And Solomon, my only issue is I don't think it matters if it's a Republican or a Democrat. They're going to be pro-Israeli, and then that disproves that
Not
actually
according to your
proves what I'm
position.
saying.
Not according to your position. Your
No, no,
position is that, no.
no,
According
no,
to your
no.
position, the vast majority of Democrats are against Israel, which is right. There is
Mhm.
no Democrat establishment that can stop that. If it's solely based on the will of the people, an anti-Israel candidate should win the Democrat nominee.
Okay, let me correct you. I didn't say the vast majority of Democrats are anti-Israel. Never said
Bro,
that.
what?
I didn't. I
What's
said
going
on
on?
TikTok. I said I said it was a Democrat movement. That doesn't mean that
Okay, what
all
percentage of
Democrats are
Democrats?
anti-Israel.
What percentage of Democrats are
I don't know
anti-Israel?
the percentage, but can I actually
You're the
make the
poll
point that I
guy.
was
You
trying
let
to
us know.
make without putting words in my mouth? Like I
Well,
came
you
on
always
to say
claim
it
that, but we
doesn't
entertain
matter.
those words.
It doesn't matter what party you are. It is Zio controlled. That's why I was pushing back on Mankos. That's why I think whoever gets up there is going to be a Zio. It doesn't matter. And that's why I would love to see in the midterms some of these third party candidates, although I heard what Doc said, um, America hasn't been only two parties since the beginning of time. It hasn't, right? And just in the last century, we had the third party. So I just want to see more people from a third party get in because I don't think there's a hope for a anti-Zio Democrat or Republican. Okay, and you guys are saying no, Republicans can do it.
Well, there's no establishment in place to stop a Republican, which is how Trump won in the first place, because the establishment absolutely was against Trump and he was still able to win. But when you try to do that on the Democrat side, it doesn't work because the elites are much more powerful and they
And
have the
yeah, and the
tools to stop
Democrats
people.
have proportional rules where if you win about 20% of the vote, you get 20% into the things versus the Republican, it's a winner take all states. I'm
Yeah.
I'm much more in tune with how these primary works. I've been following it since I was in high school in 2016. Like a Tucker Carlson head to head, I think he would beat a JD Vance if Tucker Carlson would smack JD Vance around on the Israel issue and people would be like, "Wow, this was a romp," and they would actually side with Tucker Carlson on that issue. Tucker Carlson would smack him around in a debate and would win. It would be a bloodbath. I think he would win on this issue, and he would be able to mount that insurgent campaign. He has the media presence, he has the platform. He would be able to raise grassroots fundraising. I think
Who?
billionaires, because of the Israeli control, would be afraid to give him money, but he has his platform. He would be able to get on cable news to do interviews because in the same way that the news gave Trump things, he would be able to do massive rallies. Tucker would be able to do Trump style rallies.
Yeah, and by the
And
way, the biggest Zio candidate for the Republicans, I'm telling you right now, you heard it here, in 2028 is going to be Marco Rubio. The astroturfing that is
We said
coming
that.
from the elites on Rubio in the last few months is crazy. They're trying to set him up to be like a return to the Uniparty. I
oh,
don't
I
think
I
in
know this.
2028 that we're going to have any serious like anti-Zionist candidates. I think it's too early, but by 2032 and 2036, definitely there's going to be a massive shift because young Republicans are already completely shifted against Israel. The only reason that the party as a whole hasn't made that shift is because old Republicans, it's very striated by age, and those old Republicans are going to be dying off in the next 4 to 8 years. So they're not going to be the voters, whereas the young Republicans are only going to multiply.
And going back to about how this movement started on the left, you have to remember Nick Fuentes has been around since 2017, but Ben Shapiro basically made sure that he was canceled and censored, and he had to survive being basically blackballed from everything and had to overcome that and survive on alternate platforms until Elon let him back on X in 2024, and then he was able to come back to relevance. So, like Nick Fuentes was going against Israel back in 2017. So there was some of that at least on the right. Like he would have become a lot bigger quicker. But Ben Shapiro at least viewed him as enough of a threat and realized, wow, this young man is articulate. And this was 2017, back when Ben Shapiro was a lot bigger. For Ben Shapiro to view an 18-year-old as a threat, like Ben Shapiro obviously knew what Nick Fuentes could become and tried to kill him off before he got big. And
And there's a
thankfully he
long
But
failed.
history of this.
here's the
Had
issue.
you
If you look at the
had
polls, if you look at the polls,
huge conservative and he was
77
anti.
77% of Democrats have an unfavorable view of Israel. Only 41% of Republicans. Okay, even the last poll, the Gallup,
Exactly, Joe. That's
one's
what I said.
Pew,
You,
one's
you said
Gallup.
no to me. That's what I was saying to you. I was saying that 77. I believed it was 70, but you clarified it. So 77% of Democrats are against Israel, right? An anti-Israel
Unfavorable
candidate.
view of Israel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
unfavorable, have a negative view of Israel, right? And so you should have a candidate who has a negative view of Israel if the majority of the people within that party don't. And what I'm saying is despite that being the case, was on in this space are unsure. Even y'all were not willing to stand on that position because it demonstrates that it doesn't matter what the percentage is. The Democrat Party is so Zio controlled that they're able to circumvent the will of the people. The Republican Party, you're right, it is Zio controlled, but somehow Trump ended up winning. And so there is, in my view, and we'll have to wait and see, there is more of a glimmer of a hope that they could be, although you're right, the majority of Republicans aren't. It's more the youth, so it'll take a lot more time. That there's a chance of such a candidate winning on the right rather than the left. But obviously, the
Yeah,
hope is
but
really it should be a slam dunk on the left. The majority are on there.
if you would look at the Bernie thing, if it wasn't for the super delegates, which were pulled out of nowhere, okay, to do this thing, and Bernie now had it changed, it's going to be much harder. The Democrats did have a tool; they used it, right? The Republicans tried their hardest to stop Trump. They
What's the
weren't
new
able to.
What's the
They
new
weren't
super
able to.
delegates percentage?
It's only 5% instead of 15% because when the voting started, all of the super
That's still a
delegates
lot.
said they were going to
That's
vote
still a
for
lot.
Hillary.
So one
No,
second,
no,
Andy,
when the
that's a
voting
lot.
started in
You do know that's a
2016.
lot. You do know that's a lot,
Yes,
right?
I know, but when all the
5% is a
voting
lot
started
because
in
it's a 10%. Okay,
no,
go ahead.
I'll explain it. So when the voting started in
I know
2016,
how it works.
all of the super delegates said they were voting for Hillary, so voters were manipulated, and it looked like Hillary had a 500 delegate lead before any votes were cast because
We
they
know this, yeah.
all pledged their support to Hillary.
Okay. Okay, so I already knew that. So that was irrelevant. I'm saying to you that right now, even according to your own claim, it's still 5%. 5% when there's multiple candidate isn't much. 5% if it's only a two candidate race, mathematically actually is a lot. So because it ends up being a 10% swing. So this is why it's important. So if there's a lot of candidates like per Trump, I think where Trump again, the only reason he won is because he was against about 15, 16 candidates, and that helped him basically get through. If on the Democrat side there's a lot of candidates, then there could be a chance where an anti-Israel candidate as well. If
I
it's a
would disagree
situation
why he
where
won. I think he
if
won because of what they did to Bernie, and even the poll showed that many people who were Bernie voters, because they were so
that's true
pissed
as
off
well.
at what
That's
happened,
true.
they
I
voted
agree.
for Trump.
I agree. But the voting mechanism still works because actually, if Trump was one on one at the beginning, he probably wouldn't have won. It was because of such a big field that ended up being that he ended up winning. And the Democrat situation is going to be similar because of the super delegate manipulation. There should not be any super delegates if it really was purely based on the will of the people. What it's going to be is if there's more than two candidates, if there's a large field, then that 5% doesn't matter as much. But if there is a small field, if it's only two people, that 5% is huge.
And if no candidate gets a majority of the delegates, then it's a contested convention. The delegates decided at the convention, which is why people need to try to volunteer on campaigns and become delegates. So it's up to young Democrats to become delegates who are anti-Zionist. So if it gets there, we have anti-Zionists deciding the nominee at the convention instead of boomer Zios. We need 20-something-year-old anti-Zios as delegates instead of 65-year-old Zios as the delegates.
Yeah, and the elites control this whole process, and they have many, many levers and many, many tools, and they only need to use one at a time. Just like in 2020, they used a different tool than they used in 2016, and it's always going to be like that.
But you act like the elites are Democrat, Mancos. That's what
Except
irks the
it's
hell
The
out
like
of me.
Democrat Party is much more elite controlled than the
R-
Republican Party is, yes.
Really? So Elon, like the richest people on the planet, donating to Trump, they're not the elite then?
So what I did not say is that the Republican Party has no elites. What I said is that it is a lot less elite controlled than the Democrat Party. I don't think Elon decides what the
Right, because
policy things of
when
the
you put
Republican
billionaires
Party
in
is.
office, when you put billionaires in office to go help reduce your budget, that's not the elites getting in the door. When you hand them all the Americans' tax information in order for him to do his work, that's not getting the elites in the door. When you give Palantir a huge contract
Kamala raised more
after
money
he
from
funds you,
billionaires than Trump did.
that's
If you
not
look at the
letting the
total
elites in the door.
fundraising,
Are you kidding me? Acting like there's a difference between the two. They go in whatever door they want. And we can see that even in the Epstein emails when you have one of the biggest Democrat donors saying he hopes Trump wins. Literally, you have them playing whatever side gets them the money. You act like
You
people
know,
actually, like billionaires actually care if there's Republican or Democrat. They
I
don't
mean,
give
they
a shit.
obviously do
They
care
just
because they
donate to what
tried
makes them
very
win.
hard to stop Trump multiple times.
all three elections, the Democrats actually got more money from billionaires than Trump did, but I mean, they play both sides. We know this. Kamala raised more money from the billionaires than Trump did. It's just that Trump had two big billionaires with Elon and then Miriam Adelson, which would make you think that, oh, Trump got more money from billionaires, but the Democrats had more total money
No,
from
no, no,
billionaires.
no, Andy, that's fake. That's including the money that came from Biden, and because she, don't forget, she had 3 months to raise money. She did not raise more money than Trump, right? She
I
had
mean,
money
who
that came
cares
from
though
Biden.
about the difference, Joa? Like all the Democrats just vote for whoever the Democrat is. It's not like the Biden money was lost. It all just transferred over to Kamala. Like they don't care about individual personalities, which is why you could have someone with no
Why did Trump
personality
win
who is
then,
like an empty
Makov?
suit like Kamala be the person and the Democrats all
Why,
still come out and vote for her.
Well,
why did
Kamala,
Trump
when
win then?
asked at the interview, would you do something, anything different than Biden? She said, not a thing comes to mind. So she literally said she was going to be a carbon copy of Biden. She would have let Israel continue the genocide and not had anything change. She would. So yeah. That's why she lost. If she actually stood up and said, no, this is progressive voters stayed home. Trump got a record share for a Republican of 18 to 29-year-olds. I think you had a lot of 18 to 29-year-olds that in a normal year would have voted Democrat, but they were disgusted with what they saw in Gaza and were like, you know what? I'll just give Trump a chance. It can't be any worse. And then Trump did the Iran war. So these people in 2028 are either going to stay home or go back to the Democrats. And Trump, the Republicans had a chance to build a coalition that could have won elections for a generation, and they pissed it all away in less than a year because they completely cucked out to Israel. And we deserve it. Our party sold out. This is what they deserve. You can't betray your
And
voters.
based on what we've seen with Zohra Mamdani, if you're right, Andy, if Kamala Harris came out and said, "Look, I totally disavow the actions of Biden during that 2 years of genocide. I am going to be pro-humanist, voting for peace and all that stuff, and I don't want. I'm not going to support the continuation of genocide any further." I think you'll see a landslide with her voting for her, in my opinion, just based on what we've seen with
She
Zohran
tried. She
Mamdani.
tried that resistance. She tried that. She tried at that time. It didn't work. She
Oh
tried
no,
to
no,
say
no!
that Palestinians deserve a home, deserve a state, um, and Israel deserves to defend themselves.
Who are
Like
you
she
talking
tried
about
to
here?
play down the
Who are you talking
center.
about?
No, no, that's not.
AOC.
Kamala, Kamala,
Oh no,
Kamala.
she's a flipping fraud. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, but she did say
Came
that
out
though.
and said, if she came out and said, look, no, I don't support this genocide. I don't believe, I think the Palestinians have a right, and not not talk out of her two sides of her mouth at the same time, constantly talking about Israel the whole time, then yeah. But she kept, every time she talked
Uh,
about Palestine, she has to go on about Israel and saying how we need to support Israel so much. So it just, it diluted everything. Like,
I'd
look
be
at the way.
surprised. I'd be surprised if anyone agrees with you that she would have won, because at that time, this movement was nowhere near as big as it is now.
I think if you look at Zohran Mamdani's, the way that people actually coalesced around him, and
But
even,
that's much later. That's 2 years later.
yeah,
Do you not remember the 20% uncommitted vote
I
in
think there's zero
Michigan?
chance she would have won because everyone viewed her as being complicit with the genocide. She was painted with Biden. She was her right hand man on it. I don't think there's any scenario that she could have won in.
I,
Do you
I think
remember the uncommitted vote in Michigan in the primaries? Those were the progressives saying, hey, if you decide to continue to be complicit in this, we are going to cost you this election in the general. And then they decided, it's not a big deal. We can win without you. And then remember what came out when Kamala was meeting with the Teamsters boss? The Teamsters normally endorses Democrats, but then after 3 or 4 questions, Kamala stormed out instead of answering all 20 and is like, we can win with Michigan without the Teamsters union. And then the Teamsters actually spoke at the Republican National Convention, didn't endorse Trump, but Kamala literally was so arrogant she thought she could win without a union that has endorsed Democrats in every election cycle, and then they gave no endorsement. She was just arrogant and literally thought, oh, we always get this union endorsement, so I don't even have to go and earn this because they always support us. She was just arrogant and thought this election was going to be given to her on a silver platter.
So you had
It was just
and so there was I saw video conferences when she was at the ticket, and they were shouting at her saying, "Why don't you talk about Palestine?" And she actually responded, and she said, "Look, let's not talk about that because you're going to let them win. You're going to let him win." So it was, and that's when I realized, okay, she's just playing the Zionist. She's just towing the Zionist line. She's continuously been towing the Zionist line because she didn't really say anything. She didn't say enough. There was nothing that she said regarding the genocide, for example. I mean, yes, you could talk about her incoherent speeches that she made a fool of herself about, but if she was really stuck to a definitive policy around anti-genocide and around improving the cost of living crisis, those two alone would have made her win. If she was really full focused on it and ignore talking about Israel, just say, I just don't want to talk about Israel. You know, they are a separate entity to us. They may be our ally, but I really want to focus on ending this genocide and helping the Palestinian people. And I want to focus on the economy at home. These are the two things that she should campaign on. She would have won, in my opinion. But she was so
Problem
incoherent.
was she
You
was
couldn't.
just a puppet, so she's just reading whatever lines are given to her. It's not like she has independent opinions, and it's the same with Newsom.
Yeah, I agree.
And now the Republicans are doing the same thing. Oh my God, Tucker, Nick, Candace, Massey, MTG, Joe Kent are causing this division. Just shut up. Don't talk about how evil Israel is. You're going to let the Democrats win. No, we're not going to shut up about this. We're not going to shut up about how stupid this war is. We're not going to keep voting for the same crap just so we can beat the Democrats. And the Republicans are now doing the same thing. Just shut up. Stop talking about this. You're causing division. You're a Democrat. You're going to let the Democrats win. I've been called a liberal, a communist so many times for being against this war. It's ridiculous.
No,
And they're now telling all of us to shut up for opposing this
the
war. I'm
right
sick of it.
is the Wild West. Every kind of opinion comes out and nobody can stop it. But the left is much more controlled, which is why, just like Suleiman pointed out earlier, the only anti-Israel name you can cite that's any kind of influencer on the left is like Hassan Abi, and he came up through this like crowd platform or whatever. But if you look at all of the mainstream influencers on the left, all of the significant ones, whether they're on television or even a lot of the ones on X and stuff, they're overwhelmingly just completely Zionist because that's the machine that they've built.
Exactly. Like Tucker Carlson, I'd say arguably is probably I'd say he's the biggest influencer. He's bigger. He's the biggest influencer on the right, and he's anti-Israel. He's bigger than anyone on Fox News. He's way bigger than Sean Hannity. He's the biggest on the right. He gets all in terms of his ability to connect with younger people, and then he has his audience of boomers, and then he's the biggest influencer on the right, and he's anti-Israel.
You're dismissing the fact that a majority of Republicans are still pro-Israeli.
Yes, and if Trump does a ground invasion, that is going to flip.
Well, and just
If Trump
overall,
gets
that's something that's been shifting over time. And we have had a long history of right-wing influencers who have been anti-Israel. It was much more of a common position. And then in the late Cold War, it started flipping, and there started to be a lot of Zionist influence in the Republican Party, which is why you had, for example, someone speaking out about this like Pat Buchanan, who now is getting a big resurgence in popularity because it's becoming mainstream again to oppose Israel. But there was a period of time where you just couldn't talk about it. And now you can. So you're seeing this shift happen, and it's like a snowball effect. It's just going to keep increasing every year that passes.
And you also get popular out of it just by having that position. Whether you're left or right, you tend to see a popularity boost there.
Yeah, look at James Fish back in Florida. He's a Jew, and he goes out and rants about Israel and stuff because it's a way for him to get attention and votes.
Yeah, he went to at his
That guy's a
rally at Taco
fraud.
Bell Cantina. He had hundreds of youth showing up at Taco Bell Cantina. That rally was epic.
Is he a fraud?
I wish I was down in Florida.
Is he a fraud?
I think
Yeah.
he's legitimate and what
Legitimate
the
in what?
Groypers.
Did you see what he did when he ran his fund and how he run his fund and what the fund
No,
was
I
for?
agree with Joe on this one. He's definitely a fraud. But see, the frauds know the right positions to take, just like Vivek. Like they read the sort of mind of the people and they give them what they want. So it goes to show that it's a more popular position.
Okay. Oh, now I've even Gunther Eagleman is disgusted with Vivek because the Somali Chamber of Commerce endorsed Vivek, and then Gunther Eagleman's like, well, Ohio has a choice. It's Vivek or a communist. So even Gunther Eagleman is disillusioned with Vivek. That should tell you that when Trump's biggest sycophant is disillusioned with Vivek, that should tell you how bad it has gotten.
I mean, I agree. It'll take a couple of election cycles to get an anti-Israel, anti-Zionist candidate in, but they won't. Even if they come in, I think they'll be assassinated in the first year, and that's just the way it is.
If Trump does a ground invasion, that will accelerate it up to 2028. Like if Trump does a ground invasion, then Tucker Carlson's winning this, or if he runs, will win this nomination outright easily. I think if he runs, it's just a matter of if he actually wants to throw his hat in the ring.
I don't trust Tucker because Tucker had a completely different stance before. Like I don't know whether to trust him or not.
Well, I don't think Tucker
I
was
don't know
really
which is
like
the real
Zionist.
Tucker.
He was more kind of on the fence before, because I've seen him in older interviews where he says it's perfectly fine to criticize Israel and that doesn't make you anti-Semitic. So I think he was pretty consistent. He just didn't devote time to actually like going big on criticizing Israel. And because it
Most
wasn't as
people
safe
were
back then.
pro-Israel before October 7th in this country. It's probably close to. It was probably the majority of Democrats were pro-Israel before October 7th. Even it's shifted after that. Like I didn't even think about Israel as an issue before October 7th. Most Americans didn't even think about it as an issue because it wasn't really in the news that much. But then after it happened, and then they started killing people, and the images of dead babies came out, it was like, what the heck? And that's how I got into this whole thing, because as it dragged on, I was like, what the heck is going on here? And then I eventually realized, like, why do all of our politicians support giving this country money? This doesn't make sense. And then I eventually realized, and that's how I got into this whole thing, as did a lot of young people. Like, that's exactly, it just didn't eventually stop making sense. Like most people weren't dedicated to this issue. Like even Ben Shapiro didn't. Now Ben Shapiro only talks about Israel. Before he kind of LARPed as a traditional conservative. Now he's full mask off because Israel's losing so much support. He just has gone full mask off. Like I mean, before he used to pretend to care about normie conservative issues. Have you noticed as it's dragged on, the Mark Levins, Ben Shapiro's, Laura Loomer used to say, "Oh, I'm a white nationalist." She wasn't anti-Semitic, but she used to pretend to be a white nationalist and pretend, "Oh, I'm this culture warrior. I'm fighting for white people." That apparently used to be her shtick. I went back and looked, and yeah, she doesn't care about white people or Americans. She only cares about Israel and Zionist supremacy.
But I largely agree with Joa in the sense that, look, both parties are very Zio, and whatever candidate will come out will be a Zionist candidate, regardless of what the base think or have views on. So
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get to. Is the base of the
That's the
Republican
problem, because
is
it's
mostly
the
Zio, and the mechanism of the Democrats is going to keep Zios, even though the Democrats are largely anti-Zio, and that is the problem with our system. And the only person who I think had a solution was Bernie Sanders to get rid of Citizens United. Um, that probably would have been the best, but no. I blame two women, Ruth Gator
But wait,
Ginsburg
that doesn't
and
stop
and
anything,
Hillary
right,
Clinton.
Joa? Like the
It
Citizens
does.
United just says how much corporations can give to candidates, but everyone gives like dark money anyway to all these PACs and everything and accomplishes the same things.
That was the first step. There's a lot of corporate money in politics, and a lot of them. I mean, look at Oracle, right? Who now controls all the media. A lot of this stuff would have stopped. It would have been a lot less. They would have had a lot less power. That was the first step. It was the easier step, and even that got stopped. I don't even know if that can be overturned. Do you know? Or when it could even be
Any
brought back up again?
any Supreme Court case can always be overturned by a later Supreme Court case. That's how they overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, but is there a certain amount of years or no?
No, you can do it immediately. You could do it the next year if you wanted. It's just that it's unlikely that the same judges would come to a different decision. So usually it's based on the judges sort of turning over, which is why now that we have more Republican appointed judges, why there are a lot of efforts to try to get them to revisit some of these older liberal decisions and get them overturned.
But that's not a liberal decision.
Yeah, it's like a free
Guys,
speech one.
can I just interrupt this back and forth, as interesting as it is on American politics, and just give some news out, because people on YouTube have been asking for news, please. And then what we'll do, we've got 3 hours left, right? Just under 3 hours, about 2 hours and 50 minutes for Trump's speech. The letter that was written by the Iranian president to the American people, we're going to read it out again, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes before Trump's speech. So when the letter was sent to me and I read it out, there's one part that wasn't in what was sent to me, and it specifically refers to Palestinians by name and Palestinian resistance. So we're going to read it out again, but let's just go to some news really quickly.
Just before you go to the news, let me just quickly read these chats and then we'll give the news. Oh, flip. There's so many pieces running. I keep on forgetting which mouse it is. Okay, here. Couple of super chats. Sulaiman looking trendy in Aguilar interview. Of course, boys. I've been saving and I managed to get a blue suit. Maybe one day I'll be wealthy enough to get a black suit. For
Oh my God, that was Huma's super chat. It's not boys, it's chick.
Oh, Huma, yeah. And then Huma says, for Beatrix, keeping us informed with the facts. Not sure about that. Thanks to Ali, who is a level 3 member of the community. Thank you so much for that support. It really means a lot. Being a level 3 member, really appreciate you. I think we've only got like 2 or 3 level 3 members, so I really appreciate you. And Mivkel, this guy hits Manco, but this time he's put a super chat. He said, I can't believe I have to say this. I agree with Manco on most of his points on this topic. Oops a daisy. What is going on? We're living in bizarro world. Also, Beatrix, go ahead, give the news. You were going to tell people. Shall I say? I'll say it, and then you can say as well. Tomorrow we've got an interview with Professor Morandi. It's going to be at 3:30 a.m. Eastern. 3:30 a.m. Eastern. And we're probably not going to have a space at that time. So make sure on this new channel, let me put it in. Oh, crap. Here it is. Let me put it in the nest. Was the last one. In this tweet in the nest, you will see that we are interviewing. We're going to be interviewing Professor Morandi. So go to that channel. Make sure you're following us because why would he follow us on that channel? I forgot what was the reason for it. Make sure you're following us on that channel.
Because that's the only place you're going to be able to see the Professor Morandi interview, guys.
That's it.
All the interviews are going to be based on that channel. It's a new channel, and we really appreciate your support, guys. So please go and give that channel a follow. Whereas everything was on one channel before, all the interviews Sulaiman does, and even the news updates. So I know a lot of you go back and listen to the beginning of the space to catch up on what's happened. Those news updates will be put as a clip on that channel. So some of you, when you join the stream late and then you go back on YouTube, listen, and then come back, you won't have to do that. You'll be able to go and just listen to the news updates. We'll put it on the channels, one of those channels, both of them. So please do go and make sure you're following Bridge the Gap X. Yeah, subscribe to it. It's free to subscribe, but it means a lot. It's a huge help. Thank you very much. And I will ask you again in a second. There you go. Sulaiman's just actually done the homework. He's put the Hiba just underneath where you've asked. Oh my God, Hiba, you're a mod. You need to keep up. Hiba, that's the new channel just underneath your post on YouTube. Sulaiman's put the link there. It's the new channel where all the interviews are now going to be. So you know how we had to interrupt this stream, go to the interview. It's all going to be over there. Yes, Huma, you're right. Thank you very much. Huma says, what the heck, Sulaiman? Beatrice keeps us informed with vital facts from trustworthy sources. Absolutely. Although I'll tell you the sources, Huma, but you know, some of them, like CNN and stuff, not all that trustworthy, but yeah, like renowned sources. So thank you, Goose. Appreciate the comments. Right, let's just go to some news, guys, because I feel like we need to just keep up to date. This crazy guy, Trump, do you know what he's just said? He has just said in the last 2 minutes, he has said, let me just, this is going to be posted out on Sulaiman's page in a minute. He said, tonight, I'm making a little speech at 9 o'clock. And basically, I'm going to tell everybody how great I am. Literally, did I say or did I say not that he's going to talk about how fantastic he is? How fantastic he is. We're going to have to sit through a lot of that gaslighting, guys. We're going to have to sit through a lot of the narcissism. And we're just going to have to suck it up to find out what's happening with our beloved Iran, okay? He also says, we can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We're fighting wars. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare and Medicaid and Medicare, all these things. So basically, he's now telling Americans to suck it up as well. They're saying, look, all your domestic crap that you want me to deal with, I ain't going to deal with that. I'm busy fighting a war. He didn't add the for Israel part, but obviously, for Israel, obviously, right? Let's have a look what else. The Iranian General Mohsen Rezai says, dear citizens, the end of the war depends on the leader of the revolution and on you. Do not listen to anything else. We will not stop until we make the enemy regret and achieve our undeniable rights. Reason does not allow giving the enemy a chance to catch its breath. Even if the whole world unites, they will not be able to open the Strait of Hormuz. The reason is that its geographical location greatly enhances the capabilities of the forces seeking to block it. Advisor to the leader of the revolution, the end of the war depends only on the people and the supreme leader. The people must stand firm in their position, right? So even if the whole world unites, they can't open the Strait of Hormuz, which is why I suspect Trump's like faffing about, a little bit worried, trying to get Europe and anybody else who'd listen to him involved. We heard earlier on that Israeli news mentioned this, but now we've got Euronews also mentioning the same. And Euronews says today, Iran is dealing with a very strong blow to Israel. Israel has faced the largest Iranian attack in the last 3 weeks. And there's images there, there's footage coming out. And I'm not joking, it just looks like the sky's full of fireworks. It's bish, bash, bosh, Tel Aviv. Bish, bash, bosh, guys, bish, bash, bosh. Tel Aviv is going down. Suleiman's page is going to post that footage in a second. So, Manko. What's that? Oh, I don't know who was speaking. I was just going to say to Manko, let's mute everybody. So Manko, you know, this country that ran out of missiles and stuff that only had 500, or apparently Israeli news and Euronews is saying that it's getting the strongest blow today than it has in the last 3 weeks. They're being bish, bash, boshed big time. Whew. Bish, bash, bosh. Anyway, moving on to other news. It feels so good to say bish, bash, bosh again. New satellite images reveal damage to equipment warehouses, maintenance facilities, and deployment sites used by U.S. Army in Kuwait and in Saudi Arabia. So, like, you've got to give it to Iran. Their intelligence is spot on. One of the things that I meant to say in the previous spaces, and I forgot, I said this during the 12-day war. Whoever was listening to us during the 12-day war, I remember saying maybe Iran is using these days, because it lasted 12 days, to get all their intelligence. Because people were saying, oh, but Iran misfired, but it got intercepted. And I said, maybe that's how they're collecting their intelligence. Who's got missile detection technology and in which country? And they're preparing for the future. They need that information. And I think that's exactly what they did. They found out where these detection systems were. And now they're slapping Israel, bish, bash, boshing it all over the place. No detection left, nothing. As Sulaiman posts every day, where's the Iron Dome? He does a couple of posts daily, right? Where's the Iron Dome? And leave Dubai now. Those are his favorite two that he has to do on a daily basis. Where's the Iron Dome? Where's the Iron Dome, guys? So this is, let's go back to the news now. This is interesting, okay?
Sources have told the Cradle Media that an ultra-right, Israel-aligned current centered around Jared Kushner in Washington and Netanyahu's coalition, including Ben Gvir in Tel Aviv, has been feeding Donald Trump manipulated information that downplays Iran's missile capabilities and resistance operations from Iraq and Lebanon and developments across the Syria and Yemen front. So basically what they're saying is an ultra-right, Israel-aligned kind of information center around Jared Kushner and Ben Gvir, right? So Jared Kushner, who Iran rightly called Israel's man, he and Ben Gvir's lot are feeding Trump false information, and they're downplaying what's actually happening. And according to leaks from within the U.S. National Security Council, senior officials, including Pete Hegseth and Mark Rubio, alongside Netanyahu's threats to the Hebrew language media, have in recent days worked to steer Trump toward a broader escalation scenario ahead of his April the 1st address. The escalation could push Iran towards a devastating battle scenario involving strikes on Saudi oil infrastructure and Israeli energy systems, disruption of Bab al-Mandab Strait, and a potential official withdrawal from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So this is interesting. Basically, to sum it up, the Zios and neocons, right, are trying to get Trump to go all in at whatever cost. This is reported by Cradle Media. Okay, let's move on. This was the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson says, we are prepared for any type of aggression, including ground aggression, and we are receiving messages through intermediaries and studying them. The enriched materials are present under the rubble of the facilities and have not been hidden. So he's saying, you know what? You want them? You come get them. And let's see, bish, bash, bosh you on our ground as well. On our land, we're ready. Press TV reports that US Israeli forces launched another attack on Iran's medical infrastructure, which is in blatant violation of international law and humanitarian norms protecting civilians. Basically, guys, they're bombing hospitals. They continue to bomb hospitals, and they bomb them during the day when there's patients in them. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Iranian Brigadier General Majid Musavi, who's the commander of the aerospace force of the IRGC, you know, this aerospace force that doesn't exist because within 24 hours, Trump got rid of it, and the Navy that doesn't exist because there's no Navy, right? So I don't know who's the Strait of Hormuz because he got rid of the Navy. Remember, all their ships were at the bottom of the sea? That's what he said in the first 24 hours. All their ships were at the bottom of the sea. Had destroyed their navy, had destroyed their army. Anyway, the brigadier general of that same army has just made a statement. And he says, the missile bombardment of the occupied territories today was part of Netanyahu's gift to the Zionists. The successive air raid sirens and the tremors in the cramped basements of the shelters are part of Netanyahu's gift to the Zionists on the occasion of the holiday. So there we go. He's saying, look, you know, your prime minister, Netanyahu, all you Zios in the tunnels, in the shelters, if you're feeling those tremors, that's Netanyahu's gift to you because he started this. This is breaking news, guys. Boom, boom, right? Which is interesting that it happens just before Trump's speech tonight. The IRGC is now charging tolls with rates starting at $1 per barrel of oil. Do you remember we said? Do you remember they said that they will charge at some point? If we want to, we will charge. Well, they want to, and they have. $1 per barrel of oil on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, paid in Chinese yuan or stable coins only. This is Bloomberg reporting this, right? Has to be paid in Chinese yuan or stable coins, Bloomberg saying. And this is what the process is. The process includes, to pass, ship operators must first contact, I love this, an intermediary company linked to the IRGC, right? So the ship's operators have got to contact this company. Then they've got to provide their vessel's ownership, the flag, the cargo manifest, the destination, the crew list, no Zio is going to be allowed on there, and the transponder information. Then the intermediary passes that file. So this company they have to contact passes the file onto the IRGC Navy's Hormozgan Provincial Command. You know, this Navy that doesn't exist, where all the ships are at the bottom of the sea, that Navy. All of this information goes to that Navy's Provincial Command for background checks to ensure no link to the US or Israel. I love this. I'm not joking. This is going to kill them. It's hilarious. Then Iran has a ranking system of 1 to 5 for nations, with ships from countries that are seen as friendly more likely to get better terms. Then, once the toll is paid, the IRGC issues a permit code and route instructions for the ship to pass. So they've got a 1 to 5 ranking system. So if you be a Spain, as an example, then I suspect once all the checks are done and everything, and IRGC's done all the checks, this is me now, right? This isn't the news anymore. Once IRGC's done all the checks and everything, they'll be like, hey, here's the documentation, the toll's paid, here's the permit code, let's give a swift permit code for Spain, and these are the route instructions, and let them through. If you be a United Kingdom, as an example, I don't even think you'll make the 1 to 5. I don't think you'd make number 5 even, because they know the UK is involved. Let's say you be France, right? Because France has said they can't use their airspace. Let's say you be a France. If you're a France, I suspect you'd be number 5. Excuse me. I suspect you'd be a number 5. So I suspect the permit code will be given. And then you're probably going to have to hang around just on the canal for a few days and nights, just hoping and waiting for when your turn might come. Just wait. Like, you just have to wait in line. And yeah, we've given you a permit, but you ain't done much for us. So you're not really top of the ranking of 1 to 5. You just got to hang around and we'll let you through. If you're linked to Israel and America, you ain't even going to make the 1 to 5. It's just not going to happen. So you might as well just turn around and go home. I'm really loving this, guys. This is like, strategically, Iran is bish bash boshing America. Militarily, Iran is bish bash boshing America. Same applies for Israel. And on the PR front, Iran is bish bash boshing America and Israel. And do you know what, guys? On the humanitarian front, Iran is bish bash boshing America and Israel. And I love it, right? So that was really important. I wanted to read that to you guys because I know you'd find it just as interesting as I did and just as heartwarming as I did, that they're now going to start earning some money from the Strait of Hormuz. It's their strait, and I hope they earn billions and trillions from it. And I hope their country's filled with riches and gold, and, you know, that sanctions make zero difference to them. I hope the West kneels in front of them and begs them for some of those resources. And that's what I pray for Iran. Anyway, moving on with the news. Iran says, and this has come out in the last 40 minutes, 45 minutes. It's breaking news. I know you've heard it before, but this is breaking again. Iran says no talks have taken place through mediators for a temporary ceasefire with the US and Israel. Although this morning, Trump said Iran's president asked the US for a ceasefire. So Trump wants us to believe that Iran's asking for a ceasefire. I don't believe him. I believe Iran. Okay, I don't believe liars. Anyway, Trump says the allied countries did not join the war against Iran. He means us, like in Europe and the UK. He says, NATO has never impressed me. I always knew it was a paper tiger. He's really smashing NATO here. It's quite funny. Listen to what he says. He says, NATO's never impressed me. I always knew it was a paper tiger. And Putin, by the way, knows that too. So he's literally saying that Putin's been bish-bashing, boshing NATO for, 5 years, because he always knew it was a paper tiger, and so did I. Well, then do you know what? Isn't Trump stupid? Because it was America that plowed billions into NATO to keep that war running for 5 years. The majority of the money obviously does come from America. That is the truth. But then we're fighting America's war as well. None of us wanted to go to war with Russia. It's on our doorstep. This has come out from New York Times, and this has come out in the last 45 minutes as well. Multiple US intelligence agencies have recently assessed that Iran is not currently willing to engage in substantial negotiations over ending the US-Israeli war. The New York Times is saying it. US intelligence agencies are saying it. Iran is saying it. And Trump is saying the opposite. They said that these intelligence agencies said that the assessments say that the Iranian government believes it is in a strong position in the war and does not have to accept American and Israeli demands. It does not diplomatically trust the US and does not think Trump is serious about negotiations. Too goddamn right he's not. The guy's a clown. Do not believe the clown. You know, stay on the honorable and straight path and may you achieve victory is what I would say. Okay. The Israeli Defense Minister Katz made a statement, and Huma, you were asking me if there was anything that had come out from Netanyahu about the letter that I read out earlier. And guys, it's a really important letter. So for anybody who's joined the stream since we've been going for quite a while today, we did start early today. And guys, I'm just going to pause here for a second. We started the space much earlier today because Sulaiman had an interview. If you didn't get a notification, it's because you did not set your notifications. So you need to go to his X profile and press the bell icon. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll get a notification when he starts the space, especially because now we know that majority of people cannot see it at the top bar. They won't even know he started a space. You won't see it in the top bar. You won't see it in that line of purple spaces anymore. So set notifications. And more importantly, on YouTube, just as important actually, make sure on both of his channels, he's got 2 channels now, Sulaiman Ahmed, you've got the bell icon pressed there. Subscribe to his channel. It's free. And on Bridge the Gap X. Bridge the Gap with the X at the end of it. Make sure you've got the bell icon pressed there and subscribe to that channel. That's where all the interviews are going to be going on. So when he interviews Professor Morandi, he is not likely to open a new space for it. If he doesn't start a new space for it, it will not show on X, on Twitter. It will only be on YouTube. If you do not have that bell icon pressed, you will not know his interview is going on live. And it's going to be live right after President Trump's, shortly after President Trump's speech. So make sure you cover both of those. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Katz has said, this enemy is an anti-Semitic enemy. And do you know, but guys, I need to stop there. I need to tell you, there's 60 synagogues in Iran. It's got the largest population of Jewish people in the Middle East outside of Israel. And when the Supreme Leader Khamenei was killed, the Jewish community gave condolences. The Jewish community stood up and they actually condemned the Israeli-American attacks on Iran. They live in harmony and peace there. Nobody's forcing them to stay there. They could leave at any time, but they stay there in peace and harmony. Anyway, this moron, Israeli Defense Minister Katz, says the enemy is an anti-Semitic enemy, an enemy that is aware of Judaism, of the Jewish holidays, and therefore is doing this deliberately. Now, first thing I'd say to Israeli Defense Minister Katz is, I think you're a bit late for the whole anti-Semitic label. You worn it out so much that nobody even takes it seriously anymore. Like criticism of Israel is called anti-Semitic. It's worn out. It's used. It's like an old pair of slippers that are torn now. No one's going to buy it. Number one. Number two, you talk about Jewish holidays. There isn't one Ramadan where you have not bombed a country in the Middle East. Usually it used to be Gaza. For the last 3 years, it's been Gaza, and you bombed Iran and killed 160 girls in Ramadan. What about the Muslim holidays or Muslim festivities, Muslim religious occasions? Do they not matter? Do you have that supremacy as well? So that's what I'd say to him. I did read this out earlier. The senior IRGC General Mohsen Razai on the Strait of Hormuz said, even if the whole world gathers, they cannot open the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz has a geographical position that multiplies the power of the forces that wants to close it by 10 times. Amazing. 12 American A-10C aircrafts have landed at RAF Lakenheath base in the UK. We're so complicit, guys, and Iran knows it. Keir Starmer's playing with all of our lives as well, and he's lying. At least the Americans can see everything that Trump's doing because he can't even hide it. He just lies a lot. But Keir Starmer's pretending like, oh, I'm putting my people first. There we go. He's not. Let's have a look. Massive explosions were reportedly captured moments after US and Israeli striked. They struck something, I think it was something in Isfahan, Iran. They're claiming it was an ammunition depot. I really don't think Iran just has a depot like a warehouse full of their ammunition in the middle of Isfahan. So whatever, guys, you probably hit some apartment blocks or something. There's crazy footage. This is off Sulaiman's profile of a US F-15 fighter jet trying to intercept an Iranian Shahid drone over Erbil. It's quite funny. You should look at it, right? So there's this US F-15 fighter jet, and it's trying to intercept this drone, but it fails. It like literally a massive flop. And the drone then did strike its target, which was the British Castrol oil warehouse. Like your F-15s cannot even stop a drone, guys. Not even stop a drone. Washington Post said that Trump requested a plan to seize nearly 1,000 pounds of highly. This is funny, guys. This is like even too crazy for like an action Tom Cruise movie, right? So Trump wanted a plan to seize nearly 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium from Iran. So the US military briefed him on a complex operation involving airlifting, evacuation equipment, building a runway inside Iran for cargo planes. And then these cargo planes would go in and extract the material and potentially deploy hundreds of troops. This is what the Washington Post said. I think they had to leave that plan. I just think they had to leave that plan, to be honest, because it was going to be like some real life. What's that Cruise movie? Tom Cruise movie, Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible. And it's going to be something like that. More statements on the Strait of Hormuz from Mohsen Razi. He says, we, Iran, can close the Strait of Hormuz, but even if the whole world gathers, they can't reopen it. Geographically, he says, it's like a horseshoe bend. It takes 7 to 8 hours for a ship to enter, turn, and pass the narrowest part and exit. So I guess it's not going to happen. Let's have a look. Okay, so somebody needs to kind of sort out Marco Rubio, right? Because he's still going on with old propaganda. The White House released a video, the White House official Twitter page of Rubio saying from day one, the mission was crystal clear. This was the final best chance to wipe out Iran's threat for good so they can never have nuclear weapons. That's what he said. And it's just like crazy. He's a lying con artist. We know that's not what it was about. And this is the White House putting Rubio's footage out there. Let me just see what else there was. There was something else on that. So the Iranian embassy in the UK has quote tweeted that video of Marco Rubio, the White House video, and said, so let's get this straight. Every single one of Iran's nuclear activities has been under the supervision of the IAEA, right? The International Atomic Energy Agency. And Iran has not used its missiles or drones to attack any country. They're obviously just in defense now, aren't they? They've not gone out there just to attack a country. And they say, meanwhile, the so-called Israeli regime, widely believed to possess nuclear weapons, does not allow any IAEA inspections, yet continues bombing and carrying out assassinations across multiple countries in the region. And that's what we've always said, guys, right? So this is the Atomic Energy Agency, the International Atomic Agency is a bit like the United Nations, they kind of speak the truth, but then they've got no powers. So they've always had access to Iran, but Israel has never allowed them access. And yet Israel is the one, that we know has got the nukes. So then this Iran in the UK continues and says the schools, hospitals and factories that were bombed by the United States and the Israeli regime were not hidden underground. Everyone saw them being struck in plain sight. For over 20 years, the world has been told the same story about an imminent Iranian nuclear threat. And now suddenly there is an attack. Why now? Because there is an administration in the United States that appears to have embraced Netanyahu's narrative, disrupting the global economy and costing thousands of lives in the process. You know as well as we do that Iran is not a threat to any country, while Israel is the biggest threat in the world. But for both obvious and hidden reasons, you have been willing to sacrifice Americans for Israel. They're all saying you're sacrificing Americans for Israel. This was also breaking news in the last couple of hours, and this is quite important. The World Bank says it's extremely concerned about the effect of the US-Israeli war on Iran and the effect this will have on inflation, jobs, food security. And the World Bank is in talks with member states on how to address the immediate crisis. The immediate crisis. Well, we're only a month in. It's a good job the World Bank woke up then, isn't it? There was this speech, Huma, from Netanyahu, right? And it's another AI video, which is crazy. But I'll just read to you what he says. He says, this victory over Iran will be the guarantee of our future. We are working to make Israel a regional and even world superpower. And we will achieve this thanks to our soldiers and officers, thanks to all who fought and died. I thank all of you for your solidarity and endurance. That's what he says. And it really annoyed me this because it's not their soldiers and officers, it's the American soldiers and officers. So he says we will achieve this thanks to our soldiers and officers. And then he says, and thanks to all who fought and died. That's for the Americans. So he's literally saying you Americans are going to fight and die so that Israel can become a regional and world superpower. Crazy times. Crazy times. And that's it, guys, for the news roundup for now. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of news there. Let's go back to the space. Joa, are you there?
Yeah, let me just quickly.
Sulaiman, back to you.
Yeah. So some breaking news. First of all, Bahrain is being obliterated again. Major strikes on Bahrain. In addition to that, we've got alerts in Tel Aviv. Alerts in Tel Aviv right now. We have got some super chats as well. Let me read those. First one is, did Beatrix just say mission impossible? The second super chat is, it's a Zayo, bro. What is the Zayo's propaganda? If you can do propaganda, you're going to have to, if you want your propaganda read out, you need a bigger super chat than that. But anyway, it says many YouTube channels are airing live streams of Iranian attacks on Tel Aviv. Yeah, that's right. There are many Iranian attacks on Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is standing tall and beautiful. I mean, it's not. It's getting absolutely obliterated, decimated, destroyed. Iran has not been able to touch one single Israeli soldier. No military base in Israel has been touched. I mean, that's hilarious. Everything's been decimated. So many members of the diaper force have been destroyed, decimated. So yeah, that's going down, and they're not liking it. Guys, make sure you're following the old and the, well, when I say the old, the first YouTube channel, the main one, that's gonna have the YouTube streams, sorry, the X Spaces streams, and it's gonna have the daily update videos. So whenever there's a news update, like I'm probably gonna do one right now, that's gonna go on that channel. When Khaleesi does the updates in the beginning, that's gonna go on that channel. And then the new channel will have all of the geopolitical interviews, the interviews with a wide range of experts. We had the interview with Anthony Aguilar today. The Simon Dixon interview is going to go up in a bit. We've got Ryan Dawson at around, it's going to be after the Trump interview, so it's going to be probably around 11 p.m. Eastern. Then we've got the Professor Morandi one, and the Professor Morandi one, likely the space won't be going at that time, so you need to be following and have your notifications on. That's the smart one, Beatrix. On the new channel and the old channel and the X space, you've seen it. They can easily just remove us. To think that we are the biggest space on X, we've been the biggest space for the last year, 2 years. We have the most real people on here. We have the most impactful space. So what did they do? They removed us from the purple bar so nobody knows that the space is ongoing. So the only thing we can tell you to do is to go on my profile, hit the notifications on, go to the YouTube channel, the Sulaiman Ahmed X YouTube channel, put your notifications on, go to the Bridge the Gap X, you grow like the bit where I put X at the end, because with the X content creator, Bridge the Gap X page, and put your notifications on. The Professor Morandi interview likely will not be done on the space, so you need to have your notifications on. So just to let you know, we've got Ryan Dawson at 11 p.m. Eastern, Professor Morandi at 3:30 a.m. Eastern. We've got Carrie Prejean Boller. If you remember, she was the Christian Catholic woman who was removed from, she was in the Trump administration, removed from her post for not accepting Zionism. She got fired, as did many others. We have the great Larry Johnson at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then Trita likely at 4 p.m. Eastern, and then Rathbone at 10 p.m. Eastern. So we actually got a lot of collaborations. Oh yeah, I need to make the Rathbone one, I realize now. A lot of collaborations set up for tomorrow and tonight. It's kind of like tonight, tomorrow, isn't it? So make sure you go into that page and following it, or you're going to miss out on the latest interviews, the bombshell interviews. Everyone wants to hear what Larry Johnson's got to say. Everyone wants to hear what Professor Morandi has got to say, and Ryan Dawson. So yeah, this is a huge interviews. We're very privileged and lucky that we're getting these interviews.
Sully,
yeah.
I heard Larry Johnson with Daniel Davis on the 27th of March. They were pulling up the video of the Gerald Ford, and they were saying they don't believe, or they suspect it's not caused by a fire injury, and they think it's the Iranian missile attacks. So it would be good to ask him his opinion on that.
Yeah, I will. I think I asked Anthony Gleb, but I forgot what he said. Did he answer it, or maybe he forgot to answer that bit? But I remember asking him today. But yeah, I will ask him that. Yeah, definitely will ask him that. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern. So, boys, I ain't gonna get no sleep today. Then that means, isn't it? When do I go sleep? Oh damn, bro, the graft I'm putting in, boys. The graft I'm putting in. Anyway, we do what we do. I'm just trying to get some sympathy. Actually, I'm just trying to get people to follow my channel. Show me some sympathy, boys. Follow the channels on YouTube. The tweet is in the nest. Okay, let's get back into the conversation. Let's say what people are going to say. Beatrice, did you end up? Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, cool. Cool.
Did that end up what? Did that end up what?
Nothing. It's fine.
Tell me.
But then I remembered you said you wanted to read it like after in a bit, after you had because you said it's too much pressure. You said it's too much pressure for you because you're a chick. You can't do all things at once. So I said, okay, cool.
You're so bad. I want to read it before. I just want to read it. It'll take the pain away from listening to Trump later with his "I'm so great" and "I'm so wonderful" and "I'm so brilliant" and oh God.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's go to Joa. Joa, jump in.
Yeah, there was something
Jonah,
that
jump
was
in.
read that really confuses me. They said Iran said they would take Chinese yuan and stablecoin. Why would they take stablecoin? It is basically like taking the dollar. And do they take the USD1, which is Trump's stablecoin? Like, I don't understand that posture of saying yuan or stablecoin, because oil is already priced in dollar. They don't want dollars, but they'll take stablecoin, which I'm sure they could transact much easier. But it is the dollar. It is just a derivative of the dollar.
But aren't there different stable coins? Aren't there some that are not linked to
On the
Trump?
Tron network, I
Yeah,
think
there is other ones, but
they said it on the Tron
but
network, USDT on the Tron network. So they may be holding,
on Tron.
yeah,
Okay.
they may be
Yeah.
holding it in China.
Beatrix that one and didn't read that part out, which is
Yeah,
very
yeah.
important.
It wasn't mentioned, but I read it before, so it's on the Tron network only.
But Joe, just on the Tron, Simon's come. Simon's like, see, I told you guys. But if the Tron network, that's the guy in charge of the Tron is that Trump guy, right?
What the hell? Why are we talking about Tron?
Justin,
Yeah, he invested in World Liberty
Yeah,
Bond.
yeah. Because Simon, your position is obviously everyone's doing a secret deal, and what the news they just read out now was that Beatrix said that through the Strait of Hormuz they'll accept stable coins, and then Joe said what form of stable.
Are you serious? Who said this?
Beatrix said it. I don't know. I've not read this news. This is from Beatrix, so that's the source. Beatrix, what's your source of your?
No, they did say Iran said it. Yuan and stablecoin.
Yeah,
Oh well, that's really interesting. But there is Russia does have a stable coin, Joa. It's not
Yeah, but they
liquidity
said on the Tron network, there's only USD on Tron.
on the Tron network. So they what this is so they're saying you can pay in stable coins in order to get through the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
which I found extremely out
what's the
of
source of
everything
this, bro?
Beatrix
I don't
read.
believe Beatrix.
She just
But they didn't say.
flew
But
over it.
wait.
But I found it very
I need to
strange and
defend
probably the
my
most important piece
reputation
of
here.
information.
I need to defend myself here. I need to defend myself. They said that they can pay in Chinese yuan or stable coins, but they didn't say which stable coin. It could be Russian, right? They said that they're not going to accept anything to do with dollars, only Chinese yuan or stable coin. Now, remember, they've also ranked, there's a whole process. I went through this. Oh my God, guys never listen. It's true. Guys don't listen. I went through the whole process that Iran has set up, right? And they've got a ranking system of 1 to 5 for nations. These are nations that they like, as long as they're not linked to Israel or America, with 1 to 5, with ships from countries that are seen as most friendly, they will get the better terms, and 1 to 5, right? And this is coming from Bloomberg. I'm going to send it to Simon. I'm going to send it to Davos Jonah. And there you go,
No,
Simon.
but
You
you
can
read
see
it.
it.
I heard it, but that's not important. This show what does this shows what does Iran want? And Iran wants yuan and USD. Basically, if they want
They don't want
stablecoin.
USD. The stable coins that are not in USD, like Simon's saying,
But
Russia has them.
Resistance has another source that says they said on Tron Network. Resistance, can you
yeah
explain where you found
the
that?
detail
yes,
matters in
yes.
this one.
They said it on the Tron network. Let me see if I can pull it up.
The Trump network.
Trump.
Well,
No,
trying
Did
to
you say the
say
Trump network?
you're trying to you're proving Simon's
Let
point
me
here. Resistance.
let me just give the details of what Joe is saying. So
Stop
basically,
laughing, Simon.
the biggest stable coins, the biggest stable coins are backed by U.S. government debt and are fully seizable. They did that in Venezuela. They just they switched off the stable coin. So Iran won't be that stupid to accept stable coin because they're just fully sanctionable. However, and if they're saying this on Tron, Tron is like a network affiliated with Justin Sun. Justin Sun is the largest investor in World Liberty Financial, which is Trump's project, which was in
Wasn't he pulled out of
collaboration with Steve
prison?
Witkoff.
Wasn't he given a by Trump? What's it called again? His sentence was commuted.
So he managed. So Justin Sun was in a bunch of shit for the stablecoin he created, which was via a Hong Kong entity called First Digital Trust, and that went into legal action. And then Justin Sun was going to have an SEC investigation, and then the SEC investigation went away under the Trump administration. And to be fair, a bunch of them went away. But they left the guy that created like the self custody wallet, Samurai wallet. He was the only one that went to prison. But Justin Sun and CZ got pardoned. Justin Sun's SEC investigation went away. But in order to take it away, he had to become the largest. Trump's token that he launched, not the meme coin, the World Liberty Financial coin, that was essentially the ICO was about to fail in terms of popularity. And then Justin Sun came along, and I think he put like 75 million in, and then they increased the price and then sold out like 350 million or $500 million when it looked like it was going to fail. So it's pure manipulation in order to sell it out. But it was Justin Sun that topped it off. So then, and Justin Sun is the creator of the Tron network as well. But Tron for Tether, the stable coin, is still centralized. It's there's a freeze function. So if you send via stable coins to a sanctioned country, then effectively, the government can knock on Tether's door and ask them to freeze those coins, and they're registered in El Salvador and British Virgin Island. So anyway, you wouldn't accept stable coins unless it was the Russian one, which is
Well, that's the point.
it wouldn't be on Tron.
Well, that's the point, and that's why if it's on Tron, that is imperative, right? Because if it's on Tron, it basically means that Trump has control over it. He has access over it. Like Justin Sun and him are basically in bed together. The guy literally saved him from an investigation. He removed his sentence. He gave him a pardon. Yeah, Justin Sun.
Yeah, and Iran would know this. There's not a chance in hell they wouldn't know
He's
this.
friends with your
So-
boy as well, isn't he? But
Which boy?
Joe's friend. Joe's friend. He's friends with Joe's friend.
Who, Justin?
Yeah,
Which friend?
Mario.
Why is he friends with
Oh,
that
right.
guy?
Okay.
So yeah. I just want to welcome Tim onto the stage. Tim, hope you're doing well. How's things?
Things are great, Sulaiman. I just got into the stream, so I'm not sure exactly where you guys are talking. I'm just kind of listening and catching up.
Yeah, sure. We're basically talking about the Strait of Hormuz, and allegedly, according to Beatrice,
Bloomberg.
is it from Bloomberg?
Is it Bloomberg, Beatrix?
Yeah, Bloomberg says.
Yes, Bloomberg.
Yeah, so
It's
Bloomberg is
Bloomberg.
claiming that one is one, and also it's going to be require payments via USD. So then we've got about
Well, no,
we can't ascertain what form of coin that will be. If it's the no problem, but if it's a USD on any network that is linked to Trump, it'll be back to the same point. If not, you've made it invisible.
it's highly like a journalist.
Bloomberg guy didn't say it.
That means new coin, the Russian state coin, the Chinese CBC, that's Tether or World Liberty Financial or something.
Make the assumption, right? But
This is in the north, guys.
So that's you wouldn't get around. That would be a permission network. So if